Hey everyone, it's Carrie Walker with Alice Eats the Apple, and I have a great show for you today. My good friend Mitch is here to join us. You may remember Mitch from the Joyride show. We had him on over there and gave us a lot of his backstory, and a lot of things have happened and transpired since then. And so he agreed to come on and talk with me about this. So, hi, Mitch. How are you?
Hi, Carrie. Hi. So good to be here.
It's so
Yay.
good that you're here. Thank you. Thank you. And I
You're
love your
welcome.
log cabin.
Well, it's my friends, and it's very top secret location.
You're hiding out.
I'm not hiding. It's just a very beautiful, um, in the woods type place. A great place to be to do the work that I'm doing.
Okay, so that is what I want to get to because we have
Oh,
so much to cover. Actually, you and I can talk for hours, and
yeah.
we always have such great things to talk about. Um,
Yes.
so, I mean, jumping in, I'm not even really sure how to begin this. Um,
I know where.
so let's kind of recap. We'll do a speedy up until this point, and
Right.
or actually up until, well, you'll see. So
Okay.
as
Let's
you guys,
recap.
let's recap. So as you guys
Okay.
know, Mitch was struck by lightning. But if we go back before that, you had quite a background. You want to actually you do it. You tell
Okay.
us.
Okay. Well, I was in the military and I did special operations stuff, and I've done some private contracting as well, without naming any of the, the top companies or anything like that. So we're just basically that was one of those guys from '83 to basically 2008, operating in different areas of the world, and career military type thing. Became a disabled combat veteran and was retired, and basically was living that life. And I was very dark. It was a very dark place. I felt like I was sitting around waiting to die. And I had asked God to take me, or I will take the vessel and me with me. Basically, suicidal intention. Oh, hello, kitty.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So about 6 months after that time frame, I was struck by lightning in my driveway at home, at my former home, in front of my ex-wife, and basically was blown to the ground. But in that instance, since then, I realized many other things have happened through talking through my guides and through spiritual mediums and stuff like that. That actually the time stopped, and at the point of the strike of the lightning strike, Jesus stood over me and asked if I still want to go. Do I want to stay or do I want to go? And I said, I want to go. So at that point, that consciousness, that soul stepped out and a new soul walked in. And I have actually had the opportunity to greet my old soul. He showed up in a medium reading with Miss M. And he was in board shorts like I always wore. You know, I was a big guy. I'm a kind of a bigger guy, athletic build type thing. And we thought it was a former military friend, but it was actually the former me, who was a wanderer, who was a first wave volunteer. And I am now a walk-in of a sacred twin to join together for the mission that's coming because of the events that are unfolding, which many of us in the community know is coming. And the thing about that lightning strike is that I weighed 239 pounds at the time of the lightning strike in December 18th, 2015 at 3:15 in the afternoon. And the numerology and all that is very fascinating. I want you to break down the numerology. But what happened medically was it completely healed me of all my disabilities. Severe osteoporosis, 3 broken backs, including a dropped vertebrae that got put back. And all of this is medically proven through bone density scans and MRIs and x-rays and tests and all of that stuff. I was on 300 milligrams of morphine a day and 7.5 Vicodins a day for 15 years. And I'd come off that. I was taking 33 pills a day. I'd come off that. In a very short period of time, at a very accelerated rate, I was transformed from this gun-toting knuckle dragon shooter dude to this evolved consciousness with a knowing, like a clairsentient. I'm very clairsentient now. I'm very empathic, but I've become intuitive and clairvoyant and have telepathic communications with my sacred twin. So we have seen phenomenon, we have experienced phenomenon, we're seeing plasma between our hands, we're having communications with the council. I'm using dowsing rods, I'm using pendulums, I'm having great experiences with the metaphysical community and our guides and archangels. I'm a light warrior. I have Archangel Raphael as a healing aspect and Archangel Michael as a warrior protector aspect. I'm part of an Alpha Omega sacred twin unionship. And I had the beautiful blessing of being met by my sacred twin in Sedona. As you know, 2 weeks before we went to Sedona together, I told you I was going to meet somebody there. And when you saw me there, I was coming out of my skin, right, Carrie? So now we're up to Sedona. You witnessed it.
I did.
The intensity of trying to, as a walk-in, work in the third dimension molasses environment in this meat suit that I'm wearing, and I was coming out of my skin. And I would like to you go ahead and expound on that. Go for it.
Okay, so we're going to go back because you threw a lot of terms and a lot of really big concepts out, and for you, this is just your life now.
Yeah.
First, I would like to ask you, was this your life, as you call yourself, dragger?
Knuckle dragon, gun-toting shooter dude.
So did you ever think that you would be saying things like sacred union and
Never heard of any of these concepts before. I grew up in the church. At 10 years old, I stopped going to the church and went on this other life of exploration in the military. So no, I wasn't like that at all. No.
So,
but there are synchronicities of what I'm doing now compared to what has happened to me during my life as in saving people's lives and protector and warrior things.
And I would like to go there. At some point, but first I really want to get this. Okay. So when I met you, I remember when I received your email. So our friend, Allison Coase, told you to get in touch with me, and I'm friends with Elisa and Carrie and this whole crew. And so there were all these things that lined up. And so you trusted me, I think, because these things lined up. And
because of the synchronicities, right?
Exactly. And so you reached out and we had you on the show. And I know at the beginning, I don't think we used your name, and I'm not sure that we used your picture. And and so this was all starting to come together. And I know that through, if you don't mind me sharing this, that through different talks that you and I had, you were sort of in your dark night, and you weren't sure that you wanted to stay because you knew something was coming. You knew it's almost like you were this horse, this beautiful horse ready to charge out and run, but no one would open the gate. And I just kept saying, hold on, stuff's about to get real. And you were ready. I mean, you were ready to charge out. And
I was integrating an incredible amount of higher energy and consciousness and stuff that I didn't know how to deal with at all.
Well, and you're not in a place that your world was not exactly set up like that at the time, but it seems, let's talk about that. I mean, you a lot of folks around you sort of woke up too. Is that right?
Wow. Yeah. Talk about my best friend finding his sacred twin and us getting divorced for that same reason. Actually, there was 8 couples around me that I knew personally that had met their sacred twin, which to my knowledge at this point, there's only a little over 200 sacred twin relationships coming together for the specific that's coming around the world. So the whole world, there's the sacred twin is different from soulmate and twin flame thing. These are 2 entirely whole essences that came down to do work here and have found themselves for the purposes of joining together to help humanity in this period of time that's coming right now, that we're in right now.
Time of ascension.
Yes.
Right. This is like Hancock. Yeah, Hancock.
It's like Hancock, right?
They met. Yeah.
Yes, and it's funny you say Hancock, because we know that my twin have a deep emotional connection to that movie.
Oh, I know. I spoke with her after she watched it. She said, I cried the whole time through
Yeah.
it. This just
Right.
resonates. Like, it just kind of lit her up. So, okay.
Right.
So you're going through these things. You're starting to see the change. You want to talk about what happened, how you have this affinity and you started to recall past lives where you worked with these crystals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And not just the crystals, but also the past lives of my sacred twin, who was having those prior to doing past life meditations and working with Alice & Co. What's funny thing was Alice & Co. is on 2 occasions I wasn't able to be put down. So we just kind of gave up at that point. So I think I'm ready to be put down now, but I
Okay.
wasn't
For
then.
those of you that are wondering, he's not put down like a dog. He means put
Yeah,
under.
no.
Going
Put
in.
under, put down, put under.
Hypnosis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, terminology. Okay, so since I couldn't go under or be put under, I have acquired some really wild attributes physically and spiritually that everything. My hearing is bionic and is off the charts on both sides, and I'm vibrating at a higher level so much that at a point where I could stay grounded and get myself to I did better meditative skills, better grounding skills, better centering skills, and it wasn't time yet. I wanted to know the information, but I was not prepared to be able to accept the higher self and the whatever's going to come in during those hypnosis. So it wasn't time yet. So I believe it is time now.
Well, and I think that we need to say here too that when there is a walk-in situation, the body does need to adjust to the higher frequencies. And
Right.
And I think too that was part of the getting off the medicine, kind of getting your mind right, and for those of you, I know that most of us know the term, but just in case you don't, it really is. It's like someone lives, and it's a prearranged agreement, and someone lives in the body up until a certain point, and then usually it's by a near-death experience, actually almost always, or it is a death experience, and that is where the person that is there decides to go, and a higher aspect drops in, and so and that integration can take years.
Right, and I was being prepared exactly what happened, and it's a specific twin that came into me. It's obviously it's an alpha omega thing, and in the sacred twin thing it was specific, but the 3 years leading up to Sedona was a preparation of the soil in preparation of planting the seed of the higher essence that was coming in, the soul that walked into me. My contract was fulfilled, and I was sitting around waiting to die as a wanderer, and basically I made the choice that you're either going to take me or I'm going to take me in the vessel with me. And I said those words specifically, absolutely out loud. And that's when all that happens. So those 3 years since December 18th, 2015, leading up to the 3rd year this year, basically was this transitory state of, I used to weigh 139 pounds, now 194 pounds. I've dumped off toxic pain and sludge. I am returning to a younger, like youthing, basically going back to a pure self,
Mm-hmm.
and with the help of the divine and my own mind, body, spirit comping patterns, the way I think. I'm still got lots and lots and lots of work to do, definitely. But going back to the whole the seeding thing, but there was also these visions and stuff. I was seeing where I was from. I was seeing the crystals. I was seeing Lemuria, and then I started seeing this woman in Lemuria. Then I started seeing myself with this woman in Lemuria, and then I started seeing the woman, myself, and the child in Lemuria. And then I started seeing somehow these crystals came up. These Lemurian, which small as compared to the 1.5 foot ones that weigh 7 or 8 pounds, that I have now, these crystals started coming into my life, and that's another part of the story. But I started seeing this woman a lot, and I battled going to Sedona last year. I battled right down to the wire, and it just so happens that my sacred twin, she battled right down to the wire. In fact, actually missed out.
Can I tell this part?
Yeah, go ahead, do it. Yeah, because you're involved.
Well, I mean, you really did.
So if we're at Sedona, tell about the cafe that we went to, which it talks about integration of the soul in the body, and then go from there.
Okay, so we were there. Tiffany and I went from the Joyride show. My partner, we went out, and it was funny because she thought we were staying closer to where the events were, and we weren't. We were kind of in the next town over, which is all right there together. And turns out you were staying right next door to us, basically. I mean, I really could throw a rock. We drove past your hotel room, I don't know how many times. So I see you there, and you were, oh my gosh, it was like you had a horrible, you didn't, but it's like you had a horrible sunburn and sandpaper. I mean, like everything was too much. And so we went to this wonderful restaurant that we went to like 4 times while we were there in 2 days. But and you were coming out of your skin. I mean, it was really interesting to watch you. And finally you said, I can't eat here. We have to go back. So we dropped you off, and that was it. And then the next day you were doing work with Allison, and then you, at the very end of her talk, at the end of that day's program, we were all outside, and Allison told this person to come meet me. I still don't know why. And well, I mean, I do now, and I met this person. She's lovely, funny. We instantly hit it off, and she told me where she was from. And it's like, oh, you need to meet Mitch, my friend Mitch. And so you came over, met her. And
so she came to me. Yeah, she came over to me because I was working.
And she almost didn't, I mean, she didn't even make Allison show. I mean, she flew in for a period of hours. That's it. I mean, she was just there for hours, and
she missed the show. Yeah. She came to give her a hug, basically.
Yeah. And that's what she said. And then I ended up, we talked a lot that night, and I think you were busy working. Anyway, so that was my recollection of it, and how things just, it's like, nope, you have to go. And she was being told the same thing.
Yeah. Her guides were guiding her. You still need to go. No matter what, go. Exactly. And when she walked up to me and said, hi, my name is, and the first thing I did was say, here, hold my crystal, because I was working. I was
let it come online.
Yeah, I was switched on as a bodyguard at that time. So I picked up a client while I was there. And so I was switched on as a bodyguard, and I was like greeting her nicely, but it wasn't time for us to have the cord connection yet.
To remember.
It was an auric field touch.
Yeah.
So I was so switched on. But what happened is that she ends up texting me about 5 days later, sends me a picture. And that's when I took the time. And as soon as I looked into her eyes, and you know it because I called and told you, I said, I know this woman. I've loved her for thousands of years. And this is my wife from Lemuria. And then you said, you didn't tell her that, did you?
Yeah.
I said, no, not yet.
Don't freak her out. Yeah.
Not yet. Yeah. Well, okay, go.
No, I was just going to say that it is interesting. And for me to watch this and to witness this whole thing, I mean, it is because throughout the process, I have said that you are very 5D, meaning just a term that I use, like you're like, earthly things. I don't need them. I don't care. I have my
crystals. Which is the opposite of
who
I was before. I was very materialistic, racing cars, guns, ammo, survival preparation, teaching concealed weapons, combat arms, doing all that stuff. And none of it means anything to me anymore. So, and I know now why. So.
Well, and then she's very concrete in this, she's very in this world. And so where you knew and you were ready to act, you trust, it's like, this is it.
Yep.
It's almost the yin to your yang. I mean, she's saying, well, I mean, not that she didn't, she sees it, she knows it, but it's that then the real world, it's like when you guys pull apart, the real world comes in, and
Yeah.
not the real world not being the real world, but it is.
Right.
So it's fascinating to watch you guys do the dance.
Oh man, yeah. And talk about some phenomenon. I have never seen or experienced the beauty of love like this, and the connection of spiritual chords between two essences or energies. You know, once again, these are just meat suits housing the spirit. The brain is housing the mind body spirit complex. You know, this is just so we can transit through this third dimensional duality. And for me, when I got here, it was like molasses on a cold day. So that when you saw me in Sedona, it was like me trying to transit through molasses on a cold day. I was vibrating out of my skin, and I couldn't get a grip of the thing that I was in, because I haven't been in this meat suit. You know, we've all worn many. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I think I know everybody says Sedona is so energetic and it's so,
Yeah.
I felt like it was old new age stuff. And I think the mountains, the land, everything is beautiful, but I felt like I had my picture taken, my field.
Yeah.
And the woman asked me to leave. I mean, she wanted to read me, and I didn't necessarily really want her to read me. And she couldn't get her printer to work and all this stuff. She's like, "I'm sorry, could you please leave?" And she made me leave. And it was just this. It was but it felt like people that were going to be healed were there, and I felt like there were people there that maybe took advantage of some of that. And
well, yeah, the
I
place
had a hard time
was,
being there.
as an empath, being extremely empathic, I was feeling all of the sick and needy energy all around me, and it was just bombarding me. And when we're walking around with this much energy pulsing out from us, those that are there to make the money, that are service to self, our energetic fields go into theirs, and it's like the opposite magnet thing. And this is what we talk about, discernment. If it repels you, then it's not resonating with you. If you're drawn to it, then you're resonating with it.
That's a good point.
That's one of the questions you and I had. How do we discern? Well, if it makes you go, ew, that's your body system going, no. But if you're drawn to it and it works, and that's the thing is, me and my twin, or my partner, the thing about these sacred twins is that the phenomenal amount of skill sets, if you coming from a survival group perspective, these people that I know personally that have left 25 and 30-year marriages to come together have act like they've known each other for thousands of years. There's no like, hey, I met her at the coffee shop and now I'm going to date and maybe we'll hold hands today. It was like instantaneous thing, like fairy tale stuff. And I know these people, and I'm watching it happen. And I'm like, I wonder if it's going to happen to me. And then boom, it happened. And then it happens at the same time as my best friend. And we both get divorced like 2 weeks apart.
Well, and I feel compelled at this point to say that, like, I have not had that experience. I mean, my contract, my path is very different. And
it's not going to happen for everybody. It just happens to me by chance.
But it is, I think that things that need to fall away, and I very much view these things. Actually, recently, my guide told me, he said there were 3 timelines that you were, 3 potentialities. I mean, I'm sure there are many, 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 many more.
Right.
But there were
Each
3
conscious decision we make goes down a different path.
Right. But there were 3 main, and they showed them to me. And then there's like the highest, woohoo, you did it. You graduated with a PhD. And I think that is when, because
convergence.
That you could have lived out your life in where you were, and it wasn't anything. I just, not every relationship needs to fall apart and embrace a new one. And so that's really what I want to say, is that there is a, I don't know, but it is happening around us.
It's just right. No, it doesn't. And I'm not saying that it does, but it just so happens that I'm in that path. And then there were multiple people, like I'm a hub of a wheel with many spokes.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking and not preaching, but trying to teach the friends around me or my people. And I'd lost a lot of people based on all this download information I was getting and the dots I was connecting based upon our earlier shows. And I just was like pounding them. And I didn't pull back because it was so exciting, new for me and so obvious, blatantly obvious, from quantum physics to sound and vibration and the way that Machu Picchu and the rocks and all that stuff is so clear and obvious on a quantum physics, theoretical physics and whatever. And I've checked with the quantum physics dudes, and it's like, yes, that's how that happens. And I'm like, okay, and I barely made it out of high school, so all this information that I've been getting is straight up downloads and clairsentience, knowledge of knowing. So yeah, it's happening for a reason, specifically for a group of people that have very, very high level skill sets, because logistically and tactically, when the event occurs and this goes down, there's going to be so many people that are walking around with their heads like barely connected to their torsos. Their heads are going to be spinning like, what just happened? And there's going to be a need core and people in the community of shamans and light workers and light warriors and healers and homeopathics and all that naturopath stuff. All of that is going to come together and be able to help these people in certain places. And that's being set up now. It's already been started to help them get into that higher state of vibration, that higher state of consciousness, and center and ground and come into them, to themselves, and be ready to take on this new consciousness.
So I very much believe this. And yesterday I was speaking with Ashley, who's been on the show, and we were talking for a while, and we were talking about these different things. And my feeling is, and that's why I sent you guys that video on YouTube. My feeling is it is already happening, and it has already happened. I think for a long time, society tells us that it has to be this catastrophic, this apocalyptic, people dying, people, no electricity, I don't believe that. That is not the world I live in. I don't live in that world. And that's fear-based, that's Hollywood.
Fear-based. Right.
And I'm not buying it. So when we were talking, and it's this, I was, because I think everybody has a role, and everybody has, we're talking about disclosure, and we're talking about, I think disclosure is already beginning to happen. And I think that there are those of us that kind of say, hey guys, guess what? There may be a little bit more to it than the Kardashians' butt, or hating Trump, or hating Hillary. There may be a little bit more to life, and that is where that preparing people and saying, you know what, look, there's a better way to be. There's a better way to look at these things. I'm not saying to be, because who am I to say that? But there's a softer, gentler, happier way that is out there if you choose it. But again, I don't know that people are going to be running around frightened and looking for somewhere. I think that potentiality has already passed. I don't think that happened.
I don't mean frightened, is that they're going to have an awakening process, just like many of us have had, and they're going to need some guidance. So, and with that guidance, we'll be also healing past traumas and dealing with what is happening right now. And they're going to want that knowledge, and that knowledge in those centers for helping people are being set up now. And many of us are going to have something to do with, including yourself, and many of us in the community that have been doing this work for so long, me only 3 years, but the preparation of helping others. And this is where I'm not saying fear and calamity and all that, but what I am saying is there will be people that need information and help and understanding.
Right.
It's with the knowledge that we've already worked on. And so as a master training specialist or an instructor coming from that perspective, we're getting our skill sets up to speed, and our mind up to speed, and our consciousness up to speed, so we can best help those that are going to need the assistance.
Well, and I look at this as, and that's very well put, and that's very well said, but I look at this as a transition. And I think in order to help transition people, you kind of have to have an idea of where they're going. And I know that your skill set, that is your skill set. I remember talking to you years ago, and you recommended these books that said, okay, this is how, if the water, this is what you do with this is what you do with that. No, but it's the same thing. It's survival. And it's how do you live in a new world? And, and I think I think that that's where you come in, but that's not just where you come in. I mean, when
No,
we
no.
can you talk about the cave and what happened to the cave?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Including the collapse of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.